Hello everyone, good evening and welcome to Roma Theory. Happy Friday evening to you all. I hope your week ended in a good way. Now it's the weekend. What a weekend it is. What a game week of Serie A football we have. Lazio Milan tonight, Monza Roma tomorrow, Napoli Juventus, Atalanta Bologna. This is what I call a proper weekend. De Rossi spoke this morning. This is your press conference reaction. De Rossi spoke this morning. He likes these early press conferences. He does. He likes waking up and releasing all of his words and then off the training. A very early press conference. I actually was listening to this in my French class today. Imagine if my French teacher is watching this. Great. No detention, please. But yeah, I was listening to this. And you know what amazes me? The more I listen to De Rossi speak, and the more it's crazy how different his style of communicating is to Mourinho. We were all expecting this, you know. I think anybody is expecting any other manager to have and to communicate in the same way as Mourinho did, because the way Mourinho communicated, it was complicated. You know, he says things meaning other things, and he says things foreshadowing other things. And they were very interesting. Mourinho's press conferences were very interesting because you never really know what he pulled up, and you never know how he pulled up in press conferences in terms of mood, and therefore you never know what the press conference content would be with Mourinho. With De Rossi, I think it's more planned out. It's more it's simpler. It's easier it's easier to analyze in a sense that there are less hidden messages in it. But let's get into this. I mean, if you haven't already, do hit the like. If we can get 80 likes on this video, it would be great. And let's start with the first question, which is about injuries. Who are those who are recovered from the infirmary? My guess, before listening to what he said, my guess is that Tammy is out. And having listened to this press conference and having listened to Roma journalists when what they have to say in these past few days, Korsdorp also has an injury. He's got a knee problem, so he'll be out for this game, and he has not traveled with the team to Monza. So the rest I expect on that train. The team has already arrived in Monza. I expect them to all be there. The only players which I expect to be out are Tammy, who will be back in a bit, but is obviously still out, and Korsdorp, who has had this knee problem in that Feyenoord tie. This is what De Rossi said. They're all fine apart from Korsdorp, who won't be with us due to a knee problem. Nothing serious, but he needs longer management and rest. Resting is very simple, and it's also very crucial. When you have a lot of good players, you put in those who can make you win the matches. If somebody is tired, then you change them. And from that point of view, I'm very calm. And this is something that De Rossi has brought. A new thing which he's brought, which I don't think Mourinho operated much. I think De Rossi isn't scared to make changes. I think Mourinho, after that Bodo/Glimt defeat, was traumatized when it comes to making many changes, because he knew deep down that the B team, or this team with a lot of rotations, was a very weak side. And that is one of the reasons which led to us completely abandoning top four to focus on Europa League last season. Because for Mourinho, there were never really two teams. It was always one team which is better than the other, and it's that team which I need to start if I want to win. Mourinho didn't consider many rotations in games, because he understood and knew, and he saw that the quality of the substitutions in this team were not good enough. And I think this is one of the new concepts that De Rossi has brought. De Rossi isn't scared to make changes. You know, De Rossi isn't scared to rest a big player, put somebody else in it, because he's not scared. He doesn't think that is going to lead to this team losing points. The fact that Rui Patricio got kicked out and Svilor got knocked in, That is the definition of this. That's something which in the league Mourinho would have never done. Rui Patricio and Mourinho had a great relationship, great bond. Yes, for Mourinho's Villar was the Europa League goalkeeper, but we would have never seen Mourinho start Villar in league games and turn him into the main goalkeeper. So this concept of I trust in all my players. I trust all of them. Of course, there are going to be games where I start with these players. There are going to be other games where I start with these other players. But I trust every single player. And I know that every single player can give their part in making this team successful. And that is very important to understand. With that being said, I don't expect many changes at all. Because, this is a crucial... De Rossi knows how crucial this game is for our top four hopes. This game is a massive game for our top four hopes. We discussed this yesterday in the match preview. The analogy doesn't change in the space of 24 hours. Today, I'm going to repeat it. This game is vital. Because of the amount of big games that we have in this game week, a lot of points can lose points. This is our chance to narrow that gap. This is our chance to capitalize. And this is also our chance to prove that this team is a good team away from home as well. Because this season, with Mourinho, we never won 2 consecutive away games in a row. De Rossi has already beaten that record. If we can add 3 consecutive away wins in a row, Salernitana, Frosinone, and now Monza, that's something big. Because it shows that this team does not have attitude problems away at the Olimpico. That proves this statement completely wrong. So this, on every single aspect, is a massive game tomorrow. One of the most important games that Roma has played up to now this season, no doubt, when I say that. So that's it. Tammy, speaking about Tammy for a few minutes, I was reading sources that after the Monza game tomorrow, and therefore next week, Tammy will gradually make his way back onto training with the group. I'm not sure if this is true. If this is true, I think it's big news, because if Tammy can gradually get back training with the group and therefore high intensity training sessions, maybe have a few minutes with the academy just to get his way into official games back. I think if that is the way, so if it is true that this coming week Tammy will gradually make his way back into the first team and into first team trainings, then I think Tammy will be back playing and maybe having contributions in games after the second Brighton leg. I'm not sure. Maybe, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know how much it takes for a player to fully be back. But, De Rossi said this in the press conference. De Rossi has always thought of playing with both with all three, Tammy, Dybala and Lukaku together. I think tactically, I would love to see that. I would love to see how the three adapt. For Tammy to be back in first season Tammy levels, we need to give confidence in him. We cannot turn against him the first mistake he makes. He's been out for 6 months. It will be normal for a player like him to make mistakes, to not feel confident like he did in his first season here when he's coming from an ACL tear. It's normal. We gotta back him, and I am gonna back Tammy lad. Second question. Tomorrow, De Rossi against Palladino. 2 very young coaches. Monza will play with a 3-4-2-1 formation. What do you expect from tomorrow's game? 2-3 weeks ago, I would have told you that they would have played with a 3-4-2 formation. But in these recent games, they have changed their formation, and this has brought some excellent results. You have to be ready to defend against a team that creates with 3 or 4 players at a time. We are ready for anything. He is a coach that I particularly respect. We spoke recently. We trained together for the UEFA manager, contract. This thing blew up in our hands with him before me. He's a good coach, and his managing is brilliant. The future is on his side. Tomorrow, however, we will try to beat him. So again, a lot of respect. This is another difference because Palladino and Mourinho had a lot of beef. We will remember that. Mourinho and Palladino probably had one of the strongest beefs in terms of manager conflicts. Last season, you will remember what happened with Mourinho in this Monza game. Mourinho was accused of bringing a microphone with him on the bench to record what the referee said. And then he got a red card in the game, and Mourinho recorded everything, and then it led to it led to suspension. They went to court. Palladino didn't like this. Palladino has very oftenly actually accused Mourinho of having a very aggressive manner. A few months ago, flashback when we played them at the Olimpico and we won 1-0 this season. El Shaarawy scored that winning goal and Mourinho celebrated in front of Palladino's face. Yeah, the two definitely had a little beef. De Rossi and Palladino are two great friends, as we've been described. De Rossi and Palladino actually trained together to become managers. Both of them are emerging managers. Both of them will have great managerial careers, so a lot of respect between the two. There is one complexity about tomorrow's game, which De Rossi has highlighted in this little sentence. Monza normally have a standard formation of 3-4-2-1, but in these recent games, they've switched this formation up and it has brought some excellent results. Because if we look at Monza's recent results, let me just read them out loud to you. They won away at Salernitana 2-0. They won at home 4-2. They drew against Verona at home 0-0. They drew away at Udinese 0-0. They won against Sassuolo 1-0. And then they lost against Empoli. The last time Monza lost a game was the 21st of January. So they're coming from 5 good results, positive results. And in these 5 positive results, Monza have actually switched from a 3-4-2-1 formation to a different formation. So it is going to be complicated, and we need to be ready for everything because we don't know what formation he's going to start with, obviously, to not make things easy for us. So that will change the approach, and we need to have both game plans in our mind. If they play with that formation, I've got that game plan. If they play with that formation, I've got that game plan. So it is very, very important to have both ways to try and tackle both their two ideas and try to win this game. So, third question. There is construction going on around you. Do you feel this air of demobilization? This is a very big question. I want to focus on this question. In the meantime, let me read a few comments. I heard Tammy's agent went to Milan and talked to AC Milan about a transfer, says Nitsan. Never heard about that, mate. I hope we don't sell Tammy, says Souza. Forza Roma, says Mr. Buca. La partita con Monza e Brighton is so important. We need to win both. Forza Roma. Absolutely. This is a very important question because yesterday Lina Soluku was invited to this football association organization event, and she actually released a very powerful statement, and she said that the Fredkins have no intention of selling and that they are building to stay here for long term. That's massive because that kind of silences a lot of rumors of Saudi bids, Saudi owners, and the Fredkins wanting to sell. If your CEO is saying that, it's big. Again, just like every time the CEO speaks, that's kind of what she's forced to say, especially with the philosophy of being quiet that the Fredkins have followed. We would never even expect Lina Soluku to publicly say, oh well, yeah, they want to sell and they're going to sell this summer. No. So no matter if this is true or not, that is what the CEO has to say because she's under a contract and she's ruled by the Fredkins. So believe this or not believe this, you can believe whatever you want. You might still think that the Fredkins are going to sell. She is forced to say this. However, it is big because all of a sudden, out of nowhere, out of the bloom, one of the biggest images of this club is saying, and is publicly saying that the Fredkins want to sell. Sorry, that the Fredkins wants to stay. And that is big because there were rumors of demobilization. What does De Rossi think about this? No, I don't feel this concept of demobilization. The club is good at making the tranquility enjoyable. We are divided by what happens above. I cannot decide what happens above me. That's something which the Fredkins, Lina, and the other owners, finance managers decide. In clubs like this, in a club like this, nobody will even notice if a bomb goes off in the company offices because we're so silent. Great teams put players in ideal conditions to concentrate on work. I have to interface with my role. I've talked and I always talk with Maurizio and Lina, and they are at my disposal for 24 hours every day. If I pick up the phone and call Dan and Ryan Fredkin, the same thing. They are at my disposal, time zone permitting. There are changes, as in many clubs out there, given that there are roles discovered. But my job is to focus on the results. I have no power over these things. The atmosphere is very positive. I don't think that these things are happening that are so different with what happens in other clubs. And he is right. These things do happen in other clubs as well. But this is different because we follow a silent philosophy where we don't speak. Now, again, I don't like to make comparisons, but I need to make another comparison here. Just because when you listen to what De Rossi has to say in these press conferences, you just understand how different he is to Mourinho. And that's normal, that is normal. Everybody's different. But this, in the space of 1 month, we've gone from two completely different extremes in terms of communication. Mourinho would have never said it. He would have never even dared to say this. Mourinho would have never dared to go up in front of the microphones and say, oh well, Maurizio, Lina, they're at my disposal for 24 hours. If I pick up the phone and call Dan and Ryan Fredkin, all they're saying, they're at my disposal 24 hours, I always speak with them. That is the opposite of what Mourinho had taught us in these past months. And because what Mourinho had taught us in these press conferences is that Mourinho and the owners never spoke. When you always repeat it in every press conference, when everybody asked him, do you speak with the Fredkins for a renewal of contract? And Mourinho always said, no, I don't speak with them. We haven't spoken about this. According to Mourinho, the manager and the owners never spoke. According to De Rossi, they're at his disposal for 24 hours. Is that because Mourinho and the Fredkins fell out? No, I don't know. Is this because De Rossi's a new manager? He's living a good moment. He doesn't want to throw shit on the Fredkins? Maybe. The Fredkins are so complicated to analyze. And that is very important to understand. Whether they want to sell or not sell, we will never know. De Rossi will never know. Because if they do, it's hidden. To the extent that De Rossi won't even know. But, as De Rossi said, that's not his role. We can speak about demobilization. We can speak of the Fredkins selling. We can speak about Lina Soluku and what she said. But that is not my role. You can ask how many questions you want about this. But I have an answer that, it's the answer every single time. I am the manager. And that, in my opinion, is what Mourinho was right about. De Rossi, just like Mourinho, is isolated. Because they don't speak, because and all of that. That is one of the things that this ownership needs to change. Stop leaving the manager stranded by himself. Especially when your manager is not Mourinho anymore. De Rossi is unexperienced in the managerial world. He can't all of a sudden expect to deal with everything. So that is what needs to change. But in terms of sell, not sell, Saudi bids, Lina Soluku spoke, that's not what De Rossi needs to do. De Rossi needs to think about results, getting the players to work. That is what happens above him, behind the scenes. And that's the way to go, because there's always a question about the ownership in these press conferences. The last question, even if you don't like comparisons, can we say that Roma are more of a family today than what they were yesterday? I don't know what it was like yesterday. Someone told me something, but it's not my job. I don't try to do things differently than in the past. I try to manage this team. It wasn't much different when I was managing the dressing room as a captain or a senator trying to give a hand to the young players. There are different choices to make, obviously, because when you're a captain, you're everyone's friend. When you're a coach, you always need to leave 12, 13 players on the bench. But you talked about family. And for me, this is a great family. For me, the captain, for example, he gives a great hand to the results of a team. That's the way of experiencing the locker room. Maybe you stay an extra hour for extra work and don't run away from home. That is something that I did as a football player, and that's something which strengthens the concept of a family. The training session is done. Instead of rushing home to your girlfriend, staying 1 hour behind to work in the gym with everybody else. These are the little details which make up a family. Maybe The players must be happy to come to the pitch, to work hard, to do the perfect physical work. It's an equal exchange. You know, I'm tiring. I'm in front of the PC all day to analyze these games. I'm inside, locked in Trigoria from morning to night. But this is fine. This is the job. They know that they have to come to do their job, even in a family environment. Otherwise, our attitude would not have to change. So, I think, going back to one thing that De Rossi has definitely brought, is leadership. In a sense that De Rossi knows how to lead a team because he's been the captain, of this club. He knows how to deal, he knows how to fire these players up. And in terms of the leadership, I think we can see this. We can see a family back again. And that is always a bonus when you appoint a manager who is a legend of your club. Because not only the manager understands the players, understands the pressure that the players are being put in, because he was placed in the same exact space when he was the football player of this club. He knows the fans, he knows the club, he knows the history. So in terms of that, it's easy to say that this team is a family because De Rossi is at the center of it. And De Rossi knows this team very, very well. And he can really fire these players up in this concept of Romanism because he's lived it and he knows what he's saying when he speaks to any player in this team. I think what he said about this, the concept of little details, is also important because it is true. To form a group, to form a family, to form a group of players with no leaks, with no players disappointed, you need to maximize the time that you spend together. And when he says, you know, when a training session finishes, it's very tempting for a player to go home, go see their dog, go see their children, go see their girlfriend. And of course he can do that. But to strengthen the family, I would much rather see a player who, training session is done, takes it slow. Maybe has a little practice on penalties with the goalkeeper to strengthen that duo bond. Maybe locks himself in the gym with another group of players to strengthen himself up. Just to add things which are not scheduled with other group. Have, you know, I don't know, have the fact what De Rossi did last month, organize a dinner out with the entire team, paid by you, in a restaurant you know. These are little details which, no matter what team you are, strengthen the group, strengthen the family. Outside of a football field as well. Because if you go out with dinner with everyone else, then Dybala, let's say, sits next to Pisilli. And Dybala will start chatting with Pisilli. And Pisilli will start chatting with Dybala. And that breaks the, oh, I'm shy bond. And you might look at me and you go, you're an idiot. What is this guy even talking about? That is massive in a game like football. We tend to forget that this sport is a group sport. It's a team sport. This isn't tennis. What happens on the football pitch is what we analyze. But, you know, to get maximum results on that football pitch, the players need to understand each other. And speaking to each other, chatting to each other, whether that's out in a table in a restaurant or in the gym, the more we do that, the quicker we bond together. And the more we bond together, the quicker the chemistry grows. It's a cycle. It's a cycle indeed. Right, ladies and gentlemen, Dan Fredkin works in Hollywood. He's trying to make this club a murder mystery. Everyone has a different point of view. The Brighton game is more important if you ask me. That's our only chance to win something, and of course we need Champions League, but Roma fans give so much and we deserve something back. Budapest kills me. Oh, absolutely. But this game is, if not more important, equally as important, because if there's one easy path, if I had to choose between which path is it more likely for us to get Champions League, it's getting top 4, top 5, not winning the Europa League. So we cannot scrap Serie A away. And losing points on Saturday might mean falling back, not closing that gap. So that is it. Right, I'm going to catch you tomorrow with a live watch along. Don't forget to hit the like. If we can get 80 likes on this video, it would be great. Catch you tomorrow for the live watch along. Set reminder, 6 p.m. Italian time, Monza against Roma. Yeah, hit the like, subscribe, enjoy your Friday night, and I'll talk to you very, very soon. Thanks for the support as always. Simo out.